This is the Hollywood Outsider, a weekly movie and TV podcast with a new episode every Thursday, and this week we are discussing upcoming releases, including the fantastically looking I, Frankenstein and Gimme Shelter. We're going to have a spoiler-free review of A Lone Survivor. Our From the Outside In topic this week, it's a listener-suggested topic on should studios stay the hell away from our movies. We'll get into more about that later. Latest in movie and TV news, including our own trivia segments. My name is Aaron Peterson, and with me today are my fellow hosts, Scotty Clark.
Sup?
All right, then. Justin McCumber.
Totes my goats.
And Brian Williams.
So, you know what I was doing today? I went to the mall. And, sorry, I figured everybody else was just doing one-word answers and stuff. I'd just ramble on for about the next 10 minutes.
Oh, we just lost 12 listeners. Nice job. Good job.
Hey, anything I can do to help?
I believe totes my goats is a two-word answer. Thank you.
I'm not convinced. I just finally learned what totes my goats even mean. Scott just illuminated the world to me.
And I never passed any math classes, so, oh well.
This is true. Did you guys, am I the only one that didn't know that meant totally? And then the Magoats is emphasis on totally?
I thought it was kind of obvious.
Why don't they just say totally?
Because it
kind
has
of
to be...
figured it
Because
out.
it's the 80s, I guess.
Oh, I guess.
Totally. Oh, my God.
This is what's wrong with the world. That's why China's winning.
Yeah, but tubular and radical and all that were fine in the 80s. But...
No, those were hip, Scott. Come on now. Little quick tidbits. They're making a Frozen musical. Scott, I don't know how happy you are. You giddy?
I'm not surprised.
Is it right up your...
getting his tickets.
You already got it?
No, I don't want to see it on stage.
Yeah, just let it go, Scott.
Oh, I see what you did there.
That's what we call an in-joke. If you saw the movie, you're in. But the biggest little tidbit that I saw that isn't even on your little format, but it makes me so excited.
Is that kind of like jumbo shrimp?
That's like an oxymoron.
The biggest little tidbit.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf says he's retiring from public life. Who else is happy?
M and Bieber both.
Oh, I wish they both would.
Why does he feel the need to make it known?
Why does he need to...
He's a la douche.
He is a la douche. Why does he need to make it publicly known that he's publicly retiring?
Yeah.
Because he's not, I'm guessing.
He's in his fucking free fall.
I saw this earlier and I was trying to think of a Shia LaBeouf movie that I loved. I kind of liked the Rear Window remake.
Disturbia. Disturbia, I thought was great.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, the
Transformers 1.
I liked him in all the Transformers movies. I thought he was really funny.
Mm-hmm. And then he just spiraled.
I liked, what was that, Eagle Eye? Was he in that?
Oh, yeah. I actually thought he was okay in Holes, too, when he was younger.
He wasn't a bad, little actor.
He's just one of those guys that I got too much of him too quick. He was in every giant movie that I wanted to see for about 2 or 3 years.
He was the Jeremy Renner of the early 2000s, right?
He was Renner before Renner, exactly.
And somehow all of his fame went to his head, and now all he seems to want to do is do shit to get more of it. It's like one of those vicious cycles where people get fame, they want more fame, so they do whatever they can to get it. And I don't know, now he's just become some kind of hipster douchebag, and I'll be glad when he's gone.
Mm-hmm. Don't you remember when he used to be cool? Like, people used to like him.
That one weekend back in 2005.
I think it was roughly a weekend and a half. But people liked him. I mean, when he got cast in the Indiana Jones movie, not too many people really complained. They were like, I like Shia LaBeouf. Give him a chance. And as soon as they saw it, kill Shia LaBeouf.
That might have been the beginning of the downward spiral, is what you're saying?
Well, no, I think when he badmouthed Spielberg, that was kind of what started it.
That'll do it.
That's where he's shit in his Easter basket.
You do. In the history of bad career moves, that's near the top for just about anybody. Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on because he's not worth any more time. Golden Globes, everybody saw who the winners were. We don't want to recap that. But Brian, you were our mad tweeter and watched the event. What did you think? What did you think?
I thought that starting with the monologue, I thought the monologue was kind of slow out of the gate, but man, did Tina Fey and
Amy Poehler.
They finished strong. But then after that, they might have made 2 more appearances the whole show. They were you could barely technically call them hosts or MCs, whatever you want to call it, because they were hardly ever in the show. So I don't know. I thought overall it was fine. There wasn't a whole lot of scandalous moments or anything like that. But the Golden Globes is one of my favorites just because it's more laid back. You see people standing up in the middle of the presentations, just coming back from the bar or the bathroom, and you see such large people, large superstars. Robert Redford was there, and then you've got Melissa McCarthy. You've got these smaller TV people that are maybe, gaining popularity, and I mean that respectively, but then they're sitting at a table with these mega movie stars, So I thought overall it was pretty good. I mean, I had a good time. So
I would challenge one part of that. The TV people always sit in the back.
They do, yeah, true.
How would you like to be the movie stars and you see a TV star that somehow got to a table near you? Do you just look at him and go, no, second floor?
Where's their Rosa Parks? Damn it! We're not sitting in the back of the auditorium no more.
They really do need to work out some sort of path. I know they're trying to squeeze as many pretty faces in there as they can, but they really need to work out some sort of a quick pathway because by the time a lot of these TV people get up there to accept their award, they're already playing the music. Like, wrap it up. You're like, I'm not even at the steps yet.
Apparently, I need to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine because that won at least two.
Andy Samberg won, yeah.
It is. I've watched about 3 or 4 episodes, and it is funny. I like it. It's turn your brain off, silly humor, but it is very funny.
You know who else was happy for was Jared Leto getting a Golden Globe.
If you saw 12 Years a Slave, well, I didn't see Dallas Buyers Club, so I can't doubt him. But I'm just saying, Michael Fassbender was fantastic, just fantastic, and evil as shit. So, for me personally, I was bummed.
I just think it's cool to see someone that was a musician go into acting and then actually make a name for themselves.
Well, he was an actor first.
Well, yeah, and that TV, like a TV show,
actors
right?
and actors.
Count that stuff he did before he became a musician. Yeah.
Then he left, and then he came back, and McConaughey won, who gave probably the coolest speech forever, when he just hops on stage and goes, all right, all right, all right.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The only thing that ticked me off about that was I was working on the tweet. I was working on my third all right. As soon as he said it, I said, son of a bitch, he beat me to it.
But to see an actor of his, he's an actor of his caliber at this point, where he's reinvented himself. To see him basically recount one of his most famous lines from eons ago, that was pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Let's get into movie news. That's what you guys are waiting for. Also, there weren't a whole lot of big surprises in that awards, but we'll wait for the Oscars because that's where the shocks will be. Magic the Gathering is set to become a movie. They're talking in the vein of the Lord of the Rings franchise. And I want to know because I don't know anything about Magic the Gathering because I like girls. Is the game conducive to film? Scott?
To my knowledge, no. Magic the Gathering is actually a card game that has some lore attached to it, but not a real story. I mean, it even has video game adaptations, but it is adaptations of a card game.
Is it primarily a card game or a video game?
It's primarily a card game.
Okay.
They like I said, they made video game versions of it just to kind of make the game move a little bit faster. But it's a card game. It's like you put cards in the middle and you battle against other guys. I mean, originally it was, and to this day it still is. There are cards that you would buy in foil packets, like baseball cards or football cards, and then you would use them in the card game. And it's a very popular series. But as far as overall story, there's not a whole lot there. There's, like I said, there's some minor lore that I think they're going to base everything around, but nothing that needs a video game. Again, we always talk about these game or video game adaptations that they're picking the wrong ones.
Hey, what's next? Yahtzee?
Oh, that would be fantastic. 5 guys running around, just falling down.
Dice chasing after them.
Oh, that would be good. Uno. That would just be like Survivor, just one person left standing.
Or you have the Scott Clark biopic called Sorry.
Do.
Wah, wah.
Or the one based on Brian's sex life called Risk.
Ooh, zing!
I like it. Wow.
High five to Scott. Look at you. Scott, you've been good with the comebacks the last month or so. I got to give you credit. That's the last good thing I'll say about you, so enjoy it.
So does anybody else think this has potential to be a franchise or a new series or anything like that? I don't know anything about this property at all. And I researched it, and all I could find out was what Scott said. It's a card game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, because it's so wide open, I think if you really got someone who was a talented writer and a talented director behind it, then yeah, I mean, you're basically just using a vague fantasy setting, and then you can do whatever you want. So I think the quality of the movie isn't really dependent on the source material so much as it is the talent of the people behind the camera.
Right. And at that point, it's no longer Magic the Gathering. It's fresh new story that we're attaching to Magic the Gathering.
Right. I think that's more of a publicity ploy than an actual property that they want to make a movie about.
Just jumping on the name bandwagon, right?
Yep.
Well, speaking of names, Michael Douglas, Liberace himself, has been signed to play Hank Pym. Is it Pym or Pym? Do we know?
Pym.
Pym? Okay. In Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Brian, is this great? You were pretty excited.
Michael freaking Douglas. I mean, they're kind of like the Robert Redford move. Marvel seems to be bringing in a lot of big name legendary actors who have some major clout to their giant picture they're doing. So
Wait till they get Meryl Streep.
Then it's just game over. It's just going to be the Marvel Movie Awards at that point. I don't know. See, Ant-Man they've had two people take on the role as Ant-Man in the comic books. Scott Lang, who will be played by
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. There you go. God, I couldn't.
How am I the one coming up with the names?
I don't know. But all I was thinking is Ben Stiller.
Yeah, they look alike.
But they're both funny, and they both got short guys with like big heads. I don't know. So I don't know if they're going to do something like maybe The Watchmen, where they had like an older version of the costumed hero kind of being a mentor to the younger one, or how they're going to do that. But I think it's a fantastic addition to the already giant cast they've got. And I mean, you've got two big name guys who can carry on. We've been hearing a lot about Ant-Man, so you've got to figure at some point he's going to replace one of the other big name characters, whether it's Thor, whether it's Captain America,
It'd be
Iron Man. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. can't do every single movie.
Well, he's only signed for 2 more. That's it.
Right. So I mean, at some point when there's 3 phases of this and there's a half dozen movies in every phase, you got to realize that at some point Iron Man's going to be pushed out of the picture. So I mean, you've got Redford. He's still got some good acting years left in him, and with Rudd, he's still a young chap. So overall, I think this is a great addition, and just going to give more. It's just going to give more credibility to these movies instead of just being giant popcorn blockbuster, type of movies.
I agree. It did for me. This did for Ant-Man what Jeff Bridges in Iron Man did for that movie.
Right.
Because I was done with Robert Downey Jr. He wasted his career and everything else. But they put Jeff Bridges, and suddenly I pay attention. I'm like, all right, that's a quality actor. He's not going to sign on. Until recently, he wasn't signing on for everything he could find. So I'm speaking to you, RIPD. Now Michael Douglas, who also talented actor, one of my favorite all-time actors. Romancing the Stone is probably one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just love, especially old Michael Douglas. Especially when he did the real sleazy movies in the 80s.
Wait, old Michael Douglas isn't a long time ago, or now?
No, not now. Older.
Because he's kind of old.
His old films. His old films. He's just one of those actors that I love to follow, and I could be more excited for the movie, but I'm extremely excited for it now, where I wasn't really that interested before. We don't usually touch rumors, even ones reported by Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and those guys. But this is more of a roundabout. We know it's January because it is a slow news month, and there are rumors just on fire right now. Everything from Justice League is going to be filmed back-to-back with Superman or Batman versus Superman, to Han, Luke, and Leia are now going to be the stars of Episode 7, even though they're 80 years old, to even Johnny Depp being Doctor Strange, which was already debunked. So people are running around crazy with them. Some of them are going to be true. Most of them are not. But do you guys ever get sucked into these just because you're fans? Because especially months like this where there's nothing out there.
It really depends on the rumor and my attachment level to whatever property that rumor is for. I mean, when it comes to Johnny Depp as Doctor Strange, it didn't really bother me any. I think Johnny Depp is a talented actor, even though he's made some bad career choices. I think he would actually make an interesting Doctor Strange, but I think there are other actors who'd do a better job of it. But if his name brought some clout to the film, then I was fine with it. But if the thing that the rumor is talking about isn't really of interest to me, then no. I mean, I don't care, because until they start filming, and hell, even up to and including filming, so many of these things can, be changed. So there's really no point in hearing a rumor, getting all excited about it, because when it changes or gets screwed over, then, you're just in for the heartbreak again. So I try to temper my expectations or my excitement with the reality that this probably is too early. Let's just take a wait and see approach.
I like the conversations and thinking about it, and the fun of what could be's and what ifs and that kind of thing. Sure, most of them aren't going to happen, but it makes for a fun discussion to fantasize about what you'd like to see in that next movie. If it doesn't happen, it's not going to detract from my enjoyment of the actual product when it happens.
I've told you guys that before. I hate rumors. I just hate them. And I realize they're going to get out there because it gets clicks and all that. But I guess the ones I don't like are the ones where websites generate them themselves just to create hits. You know what I'm saying? That drives me bonkers, because credible sites like Variety and Hollywood Reporter should be the sites that only report news, because they're kind of the leaders, right? They're the ones that everybody goes to and says, Variety said this, Hollywood Reporter said that, and they're reporting on rumors. That's not, I mean, at what point do you cease being a news, quote-unquote, entertainment news organization and just become tabloid? Mm-hmm. Any of those rumors flying around, and I say rumors because there's been no confirmation from the studio. More times than not, it's a website trying to get hits, but are there any of them that you really wish could happen?
I'm less excited about the comic book movie ones like you guys are, but man, Luke, Han, and Leia in Episode 7 as the front runners of that I would love to see that happen, especially if, from what I read, the rumor is flying that they will be the main characters in Episode 7, and then they'll peter off, and then their children or whoever the other characters are going to be in 8 and 9. I think that sounds awesome. Seeing the original faces. I know they're old, but
have you seen Mark Hamill or Carrie Fisher lately?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Harrison Ford, I mean, he
holds up.
I mean, look, Harrison Ford is not exactly a stunning man. I've just seen him on a talk show recently, and he almost, not only, I mean, he looks his age and then some, but he doesn't even look coherently there half the time.
Hey, let's see how good you look when a nuclear bomb blows you and your refrigerator a couple of miles.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the trailer wouldn't hold up very well. I'm really torn as far as the Star Wars thing. I'm really kind of on the fence with that, because I can see Scott's enthusiasm about it, and to a certain extent, I agree with it, because I would like to see I want to see an unofficial or maybe even official kind of passing of the baton to whatever direction they're going after these characters. Mm-hmm. It kind of gives them that okay, we're closing the door. Yes, they're the icons of Star Wars. We're now closing the doors on them, and here we go with the rest of it. I'm fine with that, as long as they don't do some stupid shit like Jar Jar Binks. I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. But I just, but it does scare me too, because it's almost, that window has kind of closed on all these people. And it scares me to see Harrison Ford still wearing that vest and white shirt and, the low slung, holster, unless, I don't know. It just really kind of scares me. And so I don't know. I just pray Johnny Depp is not Doctor Strange. I don't care.
He's not. They already debunked that one.
Sweet.
I don't want to see Han, Luke, and I don't want to see Luke running around thinking he's Obi-Wan. Although I could see they would go that direction as he, tutors.
As he neuters the rest of the franchise.
Is that why there's no more Jedi?
That's why the Jedi are done.
Well, you are now castrated.
Cauterized the wound right up.
I could see him as he tutored some young kid, like maybe Leia and Han's kid or something. But I don't want to see, like Brian said, I don't want to see Han running around with that. He's still wearing the vest, even though it's not hip anymore. He's going to be on the Millennium Falcon. It's not going to be a warp drive. It's going to be more of a hop-skip drive because it just doesn't go as fast when you're that age. I don't want to see these guys age. I want to live with my memory of them attacking the universes when they were younger. And I want to see a new set of characters take over. Their kids, their grandkids, I don't care what.
Yeah, but I think the transition could be really cool. I mean, let's
Thank
be
you,
honest.
Scott. You're the only voice of reason. And that, I cannot believe I'm saying.
I mean, it's not like... How many 70, 80-year-old people do you know that are wearing what they were wearing when they're in their mid-20s and 30s? It's not going to be like he's still going to be wearing the vest and the
So he's going to be wearing a Hawaiian shirt from Costco.
Some flip-flops.
Flip-flops with black socks
It's not like
and a fanny pack instead of a gun holster.
He's not going to be wearing the same costume. I'm picturing like him squeezing into the exact same vest and thing, like his bottom gut sticking out, like Will Ferrell style.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's
Damn
not
Chewbacca.
No,
The best Patton Oswalt routine ever.
Yeah, that's true.
If you know what I'm talking about, you'll go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's it. I just like the idea of kind of seeing them one last time, aged and slowly phasing out to let the true meat of the final trilogy flesh out in the last two movies. I mean, and you think about it, I know they're kind of getting up there.
Kinda.
They're kind yes,
Okay.
but
They're kind of
not
dead.
fucking octogenarian.
no, I understand that, but you're when you think of Star Wars, you think high action, that kind of thing. You're not going to see Harrison Ford flipping around, doing jumps. You're not going to see as much
Right. They're
lightsaber
more of
wielding.
the age of being a council sitting around a
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
not flying around the universe. They're more of like, all right, you come to me and tell me what problems you got, and we'll decide what to go from here.
Because what the Star Wars universe needs is more talkie movies. Those worked the last three. Just saying. I get what you're saying. You want to transition to move to the next series. That's fine. I don't want them to be the leads. Their time is done. If they want to have 20 minutes to introduce them and get them going, then that's what I want. I don't want them.
I'm tired of hearing you. No, I'm just going to keep saying no. See you move on because you are flat wrong and I cannot listen to it anymore. I tried biting my tongue.
What about Batman versus Superman?
No. It makes sense that they would want to film it back to back. It's like we talked about with Lord of the Rings when we talked about with The Hobbit. Creating these assets and then putting those assets across two films as opposed to one makes a lot of sense. Plus, you get a lot of continuity that you're able to put into these films if they're doing them at the same time. I got no problem with that. I wish more films would do it, or more franchises, rather, would film their movies kind of back to back.
I agree. Now, there's some interesting news. Chronicles, yeah, you're welcome. Chronicles Max Landis is working on a Houdini story with a Lovecraftian twist. I thought that was really cool.
But it's not going to be a biopic, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really going to be, as a matter of fact, Max Landis even tweeted, he said, it's going to be roughly as historically accurate as Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Whoa, that's pretty accurate where I come from. Just
You got lots of arcs.
Is that what you based a lot of
Yes.
your papers off in college? Is that
Indiana Jones was a historical figure who, contrary to Big Bang Theory, was relevant to the story of the Ark of the Covenant. I'm just saying.
He saved the world.
He saved the world. He really did.
There's a lot of stuff with Houdini that, I mean, he was more than just trying to get out of some handcuffs and a glass box and stuff. He actually tried to, he did a lot of time debunking stuff like spiritualists and psychics, stuff like that. So if they kind of take an aspect, if they kind of, I guess, maybe incorporate more of that, where he's almost like maybe like a steampunk ghost hunter type deal.
Yeah.
That might be pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's why I said it looked cool. Thank you.
I just got a little geek boner there.
Seriously,
Like that.
you threw
I love it when I give Justin Wood. I'm just saying.
you threw a real life figure, kind of like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and
Exactly.
you're throwing Lovecraft into it. I'm sold.
I'm just interested to see.
Wait. Lincoln did not hunt vampires. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, it happened. That happened.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
That happened, and this happened too. That's what I'm saying.
I thought I was about to have to slap a fool.
No, historically accurate. This is This is the true biopic or biopic, depending on where you come from.
Yeah. That other one there that about Lincoln, not really true. That was just more of drama.
Which is why he won the Oscar, because it was fake.
Right.
They don't give awards for true movies.
Never go full retard. Welcome to Brian's Trailer Park. All right, well, the new TV drama on the Starz network, which I know you fuckers don't get. Anyway, it's called Outlander. It pretty much should do for these epic romance genres that Game of Thrones did for the whole epic fantasy scapes and stuff. So, although it is a bit of fantasy and science fiction in itself, Outlander is about a former nurse from the 1940s that falls back in time and struggles with loving two different men, each from a different era.
Whore.
Yeah, exactly.
Popular.
Say, I don't know, maybe
Popular. Don't be jelly.
Don't be jelly. Okay, so so like both these guys are from different eras, say almost a couple hundred years apart, which I'm not even sure what the problem is, since I don't see how they would even find out about each other. But
Somebody's gonna leave a note for the other one.
but you always get found out. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how many centuries apart you are. I know I'm not the one who wrote the 7 books from the series that sold millions worldwide, so I don't know. But Justin is our sci-fi romance expert here. So what did you think about this little teaser?
I've not read the books, so I'm really unfamiliar with the property itself. And I got to say, the trailer really didn't do a lot for me. I like my time travel stories to have a bit of whiz-bangery. It doesn't always have to be a DeLorean or a phone booth or a police call box, but I want there to be some aspect or element of sci-fi that I can see on the screen and some involvement there, but it looks like she somehow accidentally just appears somewhere, and I don't know, I wanted it to reach out and grab me. Even though I've not read the books, it's still a kind of story that I'm sure I would enjoy if I gave it a chance, but the trailer just kind of left me cold and like it was a little boring.
It is from Ron Moore, who did Battlestar Galactica.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a plus in the pro column, but that's not the only thing I need. But I would give it more of a chance than if it just had some no-name schmuck helming it.
I will say that a lot of our listeners apparently are readers of this book. We've got a lot of female listeners, and they read the books and seem to widely appreciate it. So I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot.
I'll be more intrigued after I read it. I'm actually in the process of listening to it on Audible right now. It was actually gifted to me by a listener.
Yeah.
I'm about 3 or 4 chapters in, and it starts out. I was warned it starts out a little slow, and they weren't kidding.
Is there gunshots?
Not yet. Yeah.
Are there gunshots?
Whoa.
Does it change the answer if I word the sentence correctly?
Whoa.
Are there
A listener
gunshots?
sent you a gift?
Mm-hmm.
People like
What
him.
the fuck?
People like him.
Where are my gifts, my bribes?
Are you nice to people?
I bring the funny.
I think this year you will get gifts because of your anger resolution.
I hope so, because now I'm getting kind of angry. Darn it.
I think
my gifts.
it could be his wife. You don't know. She listens.
Yes, my wife gifted it to me.
But it sounds like an interesting concept. I'll give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. What else we got, Brian? I hear there's a cooler show coming out.
Yeah, well, just so you know, Outlander comes out later on this summer. So it's got a little time to wait.
I'm going to come over to your house to watch it. Is that cool? Because I don't have stars.
Yeah, bring it. Bring your ass.
All right.
We'll watch it. Well, speaking, I did mention just a second ago, Game of Thrones. I don't know if you guys realize this, but a little teaser trailer for season 4 dropped a few days ago, and it looks like it's not going to even skip a beat. So in what promises to be a lot more action, we've got popular characters rising up from the south. We've got invading armies from the north. And, of course, we've got these ever-growing dragons flying in from the east. And, oh, my God, Theon is actually walking upright.
Well, be careful. We don't want to give any spoilers for last season, but wow.
It's last season. Come on.
Well, look, in fairness, Jay,
Ooh, Jay. Look at that. He's like a movie star and shit.
what? You know, it's my homie. We come from the hood. So, no, you know, it's not out on Blu-ray yet. Some people, you know, kind of have to wait for that. So let's be respectful to them.
Because to be fair, Justin, you didn't have it until Brian gave you his HBO Go.
Yeah, you elitist fuck.
Hush your mouth.
I don't want to call you out, but I just called you out. I'm just
Seriously, with this series, I don't even know why I even bothered watching it. Like I'm wondering if I'm going to see it or be excited about it. Brian has gotten me so into this show that each of the seasons now, what I do is like season 2, I went back and watched the entire season 1 before watching season 2. Season 3, I watched season 1 and then season 2 in preparation for season 3, and I'm going to do the same thing for this one. One thing I loved about this trailer, and not only this trailer, but even when you watch the show and they do the next week on Game of Thrones, although they don't actually say that, but you know what I'm saying? They do such a good job of getting you excited about the episode without really telling you what's going on. And for people like me who haven't actually read the books and know what's coming on, I love that. And this is a prime example of that because it's just everything in that trailer I want to see, but I don't really know what's going on other than the description that Brian gave, you know, the dragons.
Yeah, every scene they showed was a scene I want to see happen.
Exactly. And it's so good. They don't give anything away, but yet make you really want to keep watching.
Daenerys knows exactly where her dragons are. That's important. She seems to have a good idea, a good grasp where those little bastards are.
When your biggest weapon is 3 flying dragons who spit out fire, it's a good idea to know where they're at all times.
Exactly. Get a tracker.
Just saying.
It's like a puppy. Know where those things are.
Armies, schmarmies. Where's my fucking dragons?
Get a T-shirt.
Oh, well, Game of Thrones starts up April 6th. So if you're not an HBO subscriber, I highly, highly recommend subscribing just for that show. Cancel the shit, you know, after it's over.
I hear Justin has a sign-on if anybody needs one. You can...
Password
Actually, I need to get that back.
Password will be changing here shortly.
I would probably do it right now, actually, if you could.
Well, I got to segue out of this crap. So watch recent trailers at thehollywoodoutsider.com if you got any thoughts or ideas that you want us to talk about, to opine on. You can reach us on Twitter at H_outsider. Go on to Facebook.com. Like us on there. And The Hollywood Outsider. You can also call us. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Call us or text us at 818-81-I'm-a-ho. That's 818-814-6246. And, of course, you can always email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com.
Stump the Ho.
Each week or whenever we decide to do it, we let one of our hosts try to stump the other host with a question of their own. So, Justin, this week it is your time to try to stump us hosts. Go for it.
All right. Later on this episode, we're going to be talking about I, Frankenstein. But back in 1931, Universal Pictures came out with their Frankenstein movie. And it was actually banned in one state in the U.S. on its original release. And it was banned on the grounds that it exhibited, quote, cruelty and tended to debase morals, unquote. What state was it that it was banned in? Was it A, Oklahoma, B, Georgia, C, Kansas, D, West Virginia?
Ooh.
Aaron, I'll let you go first.
Which movie again was banned?
Frankenstein, back in 1931.
I would tend to just jump on the West Virginia bandwagon because they hate everything fun.
Because you like people with 6 fingers.
I do, but I'm going to go with Oklahoma because that's what I'm going with. Oklahoma.
Alrighty. Scotty?
I can sing it.
I'll go with Kansas.
Alrighty. And Brian?
I'm going to go with Kansas also, even though the
and Georgia on your mind?
Yeah, you know, that's a pretty. I can see that one being a pretty easy red herring. So, I mean, we had Deliverance for God's sakes. So,
This is true.
Well, the answer is C, Kansas.
Crap. Brian's right
you
again.
suck.
Wait, you got it right, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. You sucked.
Oh, me.
Me and Scotty actually got it right. I want to share in his glory with my boy Scotty.
And just, Brian, just so you know, using a password of General Lee _01, not the best password. You might want to change that.
All right. How
How
about
How is Brian going to get out of this one? All right, let's go to the big screen. We review any new releases. Really, this week it's just the one. Ironically, it's Lone Survivor. Lone Survivor tells the true story of Operation Red Wings. It's about 4 Navy SEALs that were tasked with the mission to capture or kill the Taliban leader, Ahmad Shahad. When civilians walk into their operation, they have basically 3 choices. They either kill them, they tie them up where they will most assuredly die because where they are, there's no way that they could survive, or let them go and take their chances. They take the road of nobility, and then these 4 men, whose comms unfortunately did not function through most of this event, they are forced to fight insurmountable odds against the entire Taliban in a closed-off mountain range. It is a horrific experience. I knew about this going into the movie because Marcus Luttrell has spoken about it quite a bit. If you're affiliated with the Navy, Brian, you were in the Coast Guard, you might have known about this story as well because it's a pretty big story if you've ever served any time in the military. Mark Wahlberg, he stars as Marcus Luttrell. Taylor Kitsch makes a comeback. He's playing Michael Murphy, but not RoboCop. Emil Hirsch plays Dietz, and Ben Foster plays Axelson. There are a couple other actors here, like Eric Bana, but they're really just minor players, barely show up. This is a movie just about these 4 men and their mission. Now, Peter Berg, he directed the classic Battleship. I was just waiting for a laugh.
And he cast Kitchener?
Yeah, he just Kitsch. I don't think it's
yeah,
Kitchener,
whatever.
but he might have been Kitchener in a former life.
I think so.
Peter Berg, he does his best work here. As a former Navy man, I can tell you that he treated these guys extremely fair and very respectfully. He starts the movie with SEAL training. If you know anything about SEAL training, you know exactly how tough these guys have to be. How tough these guys have to be, how they have to condition themselves, both mentally and physically, in order to make SEAL. I mean, these aren't just soldiers. These are the toughest of the tough. And the film doesn't play out like I thought, even though I've seen the trailer about 1,000 times, and all you guys have too. Every movie you've been to, they played this trailer. Mm-hmm. And the title is a giant flashing spoiler alert. But it's a war movie, but it's not about the war. It's about the guys coming together, fighting to survive. That's really what the movie's about. Peter Berg shoots the action very intensely. There's a few times I felt like I was in the middle of a firefight. That was impressive and horrific at the same time. Wahlberg, who I've never been a huge fan of, but he gives his best performance to date, like bar none. Even better than Boogie Nights, in my opinion. The other 3 actors brought their A game as well. I think Taylor Kitsch might have saved his career with this movie because after Battleship and John Carter, he wasn't exactly floating to the top. Lone Survivor overall, better than I thought it would be. Honestly, it choked me up several times. War films don't get much in replay value for me, mostly because they paint military as almost superhero-like, which is not how they are. But the filmmakers respected my Navy brothers enough to where I would definitely watch this again. I highly recommend it, especially not just if you're into the military or war films, just if you're into a film about guys that come together to survive. If $10 is the full price of admission, I say Lone Survivor is worth $7.50. I will punch you.
Or a half bag of Cheetos, according to Justin.
Justin.
I waited until you were done, fucker.
You don't love your military. Is that what it is? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's exactly right. You got me.
Semper Fi, bitch.
That's the Marines, fuckhead.
Hey, he does know his military. Nice job.
Yeah, my dad was Army. Yeah, I know a little.
Where the latrine is?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to box office. Lone Survivor surprised just about everybody by opening at number 1 with $37.8 million. Huge opening, especially for a movie like that. Frozen, $14.7 million. It's in its eighth week. It's made $317.3 million. Wow, that thing's huge. I hear they're making a musical. The Legend of Hercules, $8.8 million. Huge flop. But
thank God. That thing was shit.
Who didn't see that coming?
What's his name? Kellen Lutz. He probably didn't. A few lines in Twilight does not make you a movie star, sir. It just does not. The Wolf of Wall Street. And by the way, The Legend of Hercules, $70 million total with marketing and stuff. Yeah. Somebody lost their job. The Wolf of Wall Street, $8.8 million. It's got $78 million total, and somehow is called a comedy when all I've heard is how it's really dramatic. I don't know what kind of movie it really is. I haven't seen it.
There's some funny parts.
Would you
but
say it's a comedy?
I wouldn't call it a comedy, no.
Okay. American Hustle, $8.3 million.
And that's not a comedy either. So why that was in the comedy musical category, I have no idea.
They didn't have a heist category, be my guess.
Man, that thing made money.
They should have had best hair. But it's got $101 million, so it's a hit. That's a hit. And The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, $8 million. It's got $242 million, which is about $60 million so far less than the first Hobbit. They're saying that it's going to be the lowest grossing of the Lord of the Rings films in the U.S. That's just saying something since the first one came out like in 2001. So, eek. But worldwide, it'll be fine.
Well, $850 million has probably not got New Line weeping just yet.
I just said worldwide, it'll be fine. Calm down. You don't have to save Peter Jackson. He'll be okay. You don't have to defend the man.
God
I say his
damn
name
it.
3 times.
Justin's already, he's like, look, Hobbit's fucking amazing.
I gave it a 10.
10. I give it 10.
All right, well, we have got 2 films that we're going to be discussing this week. They're both opening up on January 24th. The first one, Gimme Shelter. A teenager sets out to find her Wall Street father and is forced into the streets in a desperate journey of survival. It's apparently based on a true story. The director and writer is Ron Krauss, and it stars Vanessa Hudgens, Brendan Fraser, and Rosario Dawson. This film was not one that I'd really heard of before, and before I watched the trailer, I could have given less than 2 shits about it. But after watching the trailer, I was actually kind of surprised at just how powerful this film looks. And I'm kind of surprised that it's, not had more of a advertising push. Scott, this kind of seems like a movie that might be up your alley. What do you think of it?
I have pretty much the exact same feeling you did. Going into this, I knew nothing about it. I had no real excitement for watching the trailer, but holy cow, I don't know that I would have known that was Vanessa Hudgens in that movie until the very end.
Yeah, they fucked her up.
Holy cow, she looks like a completely different person.
Really?
Absolutely different person. And there's a lot of other actors I hadn't seen in movies either in a while or hadn't seen in a serious movie in a while. Brendan Fraser is in it. I don't remember the last time I saw James Earl Jones in a movie either. I'd go see it just to see him again in a movie. So
Totes
my goats.
So, are you guys?
I might go see it.
Are you guys?
I might not.
Maybe
I
not.
might not.
I probably won't.
Oh, and while we're on that subject, I've been watching the commercial. It's when your parents get home too early.
That's what I thought it was too.
Yeah, it's your parents, not
her parents.
Her parents,
Right.
right.
You're talking
I'm
about
pretty sure it's her parents.
The Walking
No,
Dead.
No,
show?
it's your parents.
I want somebody from the studio that made that commercial to call and correct this, so we have a definitive answer.
I got the impression the first time I saw the commercial that he had a party or something at the house, and his parents came home early, and he was scooting out the door with whatever talk.
Maybe I applied too much of my own youth to it, but it sure seemed that way. But back to Gimme Shelter.
You are projecting.
It's very possible. Gimme Shelter. I actually did not see the trailer, so that's my bad. For once, I dropped the ball. So you guys are saying that...
What?
Yeah. So you guys are saying this looks
Listen to
fantastic?
the outtakes yet?
I'm not saying it's fantastic. I'm saying that I went in with real lowered expectations. Mm-hmm. I can't say that without going, lowered expectations. Like I said, I didn't expect a whole lot out of it, and I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw. It's one of those movies that has the potential to try too hard to tug at your heartstrings, and it might kind of, but because I went into it not expecting a whole lot, I was surprised. It's one I'd be interested in checking out.
Really?
Her performance looks really good.
I definitely got to check this out then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Rosario Dawson, they almost went, the full Charlize Theron monster route with fuggling her up.
Oh, yeah.
Which is hard to do because I think she's gorgeous.
They pulled it off.
She is, but she looks like shit.
Yeah.
Toe up from the flow up. Brian, you got any thoughts on this, or should we move on?
Again, it's just one of those movies that looks like that I probably wouldn't check out at the theater, but one of those that I stumble across on cable, or you see you kind of come across that in the DVD section at Walmart or Target or something and go, oh my God, look at all who's in this movie. This movie's got to be pretty good. Mm-hmm. And check out, so I'll probably wait, but
then that means our next film is going to be the one you're going to have to be choosing. Folks, Frankenstein's creature finds himself caught in an all-out, centuries-old war between gargoyles and demons. Yes, I am referring to the big new film, I, Frankenstein. Written and directed by Stuart Beattie. It stars Aaron Eckhart, Bill Nighy, Miranda Otto, Yvonne Strahovski. It's a pretty strong cast when you look at it. And what surprised me is in researching this film, do you guys remember in Underworld, there was one of the werewolves was a really big black guy with this voice that was just deep and rumbling.
Sure.
I'm hearing crickets.
Yeah.
Well, his name is Kevin Graveau, and he was actually one of the writers of Underworld. He quote unquote created the story, though I think White Wolf Publishing would have something to say about that. He also wrote the comic book that this movie is based on. So apparently he does a lot of screenwriting, and he started a couple of comic book companies. And surprisingly enough, given his size, he's also a chemical engineer and some other things. So he's a smart guy. But the film is based on that story, and the more I looked into it, sadly, the more interested I actually kind of got in it. I've really given this movie a lot of shit, and there's a slim possibility I may have to eat some of that shit. Aaron, will you be serving it up to me if I got it wrong and this movie is actually fucking awesome?
If this movie's awesome, I would be shocked, and I would probably eat my own hat.
We would both be seated at the table with some bibs on.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I would just grab my shoe and just start chowing, because this thing looks like just total shit. I like Aaron Eckhart. I think Aaron Eckhart needs to be fired, or needs to fire his agent, needs to fire his manager, all of those people, because he keeps picking movies that just don't make sense for him. I would like to see him in dramatic parts. I think that's where he belongs. This whole I want to be an action hero, and he looks the part, but this looks stupid. It just doesn't look. I get what they were going for. I think they failed epically.
I don't remember seeing a trailer with so much action and explosions that I had no interest in seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just dazzling and awful. It just looks awful.
I want to like it so bad, but it just looks really bad.
And I will say this: if the movie, for some reason, we'll end up seeing it. We will. Mm-hmm. And if it ends up being good, I'll be the first one to admit I was wrong. Mm-hmm. But if it ends up being good, then whoever marketed it should be fired, because it is awful. Mm-hmm. That trailer just makes it look awful, and it not in a good way.
Yep.
Not so bad, it's good.
Exactly.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah, it just, I'm just saying, Scott really said it best, man. It's one of those where it's got so many things that I like, and yet you still put it together and it looks like shit. And I've got no interest in seeing this at all. And golly, I hope it's just bad marketing, because otherwise, man, this is one I really hope I'm wrong. I don't say that often, but I really hope I'm wrong with this, because I'm a big Aaron Eckhart fan also. It's got a lot of stuff I like in this. It's got the bubblegum special effects. It's got, it's got weird, fantastical stuff. And I love all that. And it just, something about this equation just doesn't add up. It's missing something, man. But
it should have that Van Helsing vibe, mm-hmm. is what it should have.
Yes.
And it doesn't.
Yes, it should.
It's totally missing. Totally missing.
It just looks like I don't know, like maybe one of those guys who just can't let something go. And it's like they just keep trying to make Underworld popular again. And they're just trying, we'll just do the same thing, but with different characters.
Gargoyles.
Gargoyles, that's it. Gargoyles and one more. What do we got?
Kids love gargoyles.
Yeah, they just sit up there on top of the buildings, but we need something else. Frankenstein. That's it. Mm-hmm. Boom. All right, write it.
And the sad part is, it reminds me of Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters from last year, but that had a fun trailer. So you went in going, this has a chance to be good. Where I, Frankenstein, I got a feeling my whole trip to the theater is going to be, I'm seeing it for the show. I don't want to see this.
But that also had a sense of humor built into it, too.
What's that?
Hansel and Gretel had a sense of humor built into it. There was a lot of tongue-in-cheek going on. This is flat out, you're supposed to take it seriously.
Which is silly.
Yeah.
Just in spirit. Just to take Frankenstein walking around looking like Aaron Eckhart.
Well, I mean, you could make a Frankenstein movie, I think, and take it seriously, but not this way. This way, just like Brian said, just like someone's trying too hard, or someone said, let's make this happen. Just put something together, and it's almost one of those.
They stitched it together.
What? It looks like one of those things that say, this might be a good idea. Let's do it and see what happens. Get the writing. Okay, we got a script. It's okay. Let's see who we can get attached to it. And they keep putting it together and like, I don't know. What can we do to make this better? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Mary Shelley would be ashamed.
I think we've probably talked about this one more than it deserves. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be in theaters to see it. And like Aaron said, it will be because to review it on the show and not because I'm genuinely interested. But of these two films, guys, Gimme Shelter, I, Frankenstein, which one are you most desiring to go see in the theater? Aaron?
I'm suddenly interested in Gimme Shelter because it's up against this piece of shit.
Scotty?
I'm going to say Gimme Shelter just because it's up against I, Frankenstein.
Brian?
I'm going to flip the script and say I, Frankenstein, just because I want to be proved wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go with Brian. I mean, the only thing this trailer needs to really be fully in my wheelhouse is a Def Leppard soundtrack and a lot of boobs. Those are the only elements missing to make this a perfect film for me, yet it doesn't seem like it's going to do it at all. But I do want to be proved wrong with Brian, so I'm going to pick I, Frankenstein. But Gimme Shelter is definitely one that I want to check out when it hits Netflix.
I hope mostly that Justin is wrong because there's no sound better in the world than hearing Justin say, I was wrong.
You don't hear it often.
I sure don't. Sure don't. Even when it's blatantly in front of you. Sure don't.
No.
You can always listen and subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher Radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do, or through our RSS feed at thehollywoodoutsider.com. There's a new episode every Thursday.
What's this movie?
What's this movie? Each week we play ours or...
Hey, Justin, try that mute button one more time.
Okay, bro. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You got it, brother. Hey, Aaron, go ahead.
Each week we try... we play clips, and... If you think you know what the clip is,
we play clips.
Email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Tweet us or Facebook us the answer, and we'll give you a proper host shout out. I hate all of you. Last week's answer, it was my choice, and it was I almost forgot what the movie was. It was Lethal Weapon 2. Lethal Weapon 2. Diplomatic Immunity. Those I got it correct. Zach Parkinson, Sean McGuire, and Justin McCumber.
Just
That's right.
revoked.
Just been revoked.
This week, it is Brian's turn. If you think you know the answer, email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com, and we will give you a proper host shout-out. Here is your clip.
Okay, Flaming Dragon, fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face! Now, I don't know what kind of pan-Pacific bullshit power play you're trying to pull here, but Asia Jack is my territory. So whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm going to have to head down there, and I will rain down on a godly fucking firestorm upon you. You're going to have to call the fucking United Nations and get a fucking binding resolution to keep me from fucking destroying you. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker. I will massacre you. I will fuck you up.
All right, that was your clip, and I do want to hand it to Brian for giving us the clip with the most F-bombs ever in our entire arsenal of our show. Nice job, Brian. Thanks for giving us the explicit tag.
Just glad I could be a cervix to you.
Cervix?
Cervix.
That's odd.
And strangely erotic. All right, let's go to the couch. Talk about TV and home video
bearded
news.
cervix.
Scott Wood.
Stop. Stop. 24 is back as 24 Live Another Day, and we finally have some details on it, and I am so excited because this is my all-time favorite TV show. It will begin on May 5th with a 2-hour premiere. Then it's going to move into its regular 9 p.m. Eastern slot on May 12th. It's going to take place in London, so it's going to little change of pace there. Jack's ex, who's played by Kim Raver, and also William Devane is back. The show also adds Chuck actress Yvonne Strahovski, whatever that.
Strahovski.
Whatever, that Polish actress. And also Judy Davis to the cast. So I want to know, Brian, you're also a fan. Are you excited yet?
Racist.
Against Polish?
Look, anytime, yeah, because she's Polish. Yeah, like you, 24 is one of my favorite shows of all time. And anytime that we can get a legitimate 24 show, then I'm pretty excited. What's her name? Rashku,
Mary Lynn Rajskub.
Mary Lynn Rajskub. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
That's the one I need help on.
I pronounce it Chloe. Yeah.
Chloe.
We called her Potato Face.
Love her. To me, she is the perfect balance for how serious, and Jack is just all business. She's the perfect balance for it. I'm glad to see she's back with it, and I'm totally pumped for it. I can't wait.
Now, is this a full 24 episode show?
No, 12 episodes. It's going to be 12 episodes, but it's going to take place over a 24-hour period. So basically they're going to cover, so it gives them more time. They don't have to worry about travel and all that stuff.
Okay. What happened to the movie?
It didn't pan out. So they're going to go back to the TV route. They want to do a summer series. Because nobody wanted to do the full 24 hours again, but they wanted to bring the show back. I don't care. More Jack Bauer. More people getting shot.
I'm all for it.
I can't wait. All right, moving on. DC Comics is finally getting a pilot out of Constantine for NBC. And Keanu Reeves is nowhere to be found, which I personally liked him in that movie. But does this make you a little giddy? I know you're a big fan of the property, Justin.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a big fan, but I am a fan of it. It doesn't make me excited because Constantine is a really dark story, and it can get pretty twisted. NBC just isn't the home for a character like Constantine. AMC, FX, one of those other channels that's willing to really get in there and let a story be what it needs to be, whether it's dark and bloody and violent, they'll let it happen. And Constantine needs that kind of network to really tell the sorts of stories that John Constantine can tell. So the fact that NBC's doing it gives me no pleasure whatsoever. The only thing that I'm really hoping is that the person that they cast to play Constantine is British. The character is British. He was written by a Brit, created by a Brit. I thought Keanu Reeves was fine in the role, but that's not really who Constantine was. And he's blonde. So I'm really hoping they get somebody more appropriate for the role. But I have a low level of expectation for what NBC is going to be able to produce.
I really like that movie. I think
it was fine.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't that character Constantine. They could have taken that name off and just called it whatever, and I think it would have been the exact same film, and it would have been fine.
Well, again, I went into that movie with not having read the original source material, so I had nothing to compare to. I just thought it was an interesting movie that I thought worked pretty well, considering it had Keanu Reeves in the lead.
And he did fine.
He did.
He actually did fine.
And it was an interesting concept. I mean, obviously it wasn't original because it was based off of something else, but I agree with Justin. Something like that on NBC is way, way too dark unless they start really making some changes on those major networks. But
by the way, speaking of, somebody gave me crap on one of our listeners gave me crap on Facebook. Well, you bash Keanu Reeves a lot, so I just want to say yes. That's it. I do.
It's also worth noting, though, that Guillermo del Toro is supposed to be setting up a film with Warner Brothers called Justice League Dark, which includes it's a more supernatural type of story, and it's filled with characters who are supernatural, Constantine being one of them. How this show may or may not impact that, I have no idea. But Constantine is supposed to be in this film, and hopefully Guillermo del Toro will be able to make that film because it looks really cool just from what little I've read about it.
Well, a couple of TV show announcements for people that are fans. FX just announced they are going to end Justified after next year's 6th season by Raylan Givens. And Newsroom, which Brian and Scott are really big fans of, is going to return for only one final season for its, third season, and then the show's done.
I'm actually really okay with that. And as much as I love Newsroom, I really would have been okay if they would have stopped with 2. As crazy as that sounds, like why would I not want more of something that's good? Mm-hmm. They tied up that second season in such a nice, neat little bow that I was like, all right, I'm okay if we don't have any more. I was surprised that they decided to go with the third. Don't get me wrong, I want to watch more, but they just did such a good job with it, leaving it that it could go on or could stop. I just get a little worried about a third season being able to tie it up that neatly again. I mean, granted, they got really good writers, that kind of thing.
Was it that good? I mean, don't tell me what happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with Scott. It was tied up so neatly. Like, yeah, it's still open, but again, it's just enough to where if they decided, you know what, we're not going to do anymore, I would be fine with it because it was tied up very nicely, and again, Jane Fonda was just phenomenal in this last little bit of that show. But
I can't
Hannah
wait.
Jane?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A traitor?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The traitor, is that what he said? The Vietnam hippie?
I just really hope that they wrap up season 3 as well as they did season 2. Because if they leave that kind of hanging with like some ambiguous ending or something, I'm going to be kind of.
Well, pissed. They obviously know that it's going to end, so I mean, they can write a solid ending.
No. I'm not saying that they're going to. I'm saying some writers will leave it ambiguous on purpose. Like
you want
Sopranos
something conclusive.
Or something.
You want a conclusive ending,
right?
Yeah,
because it ended very satisfying, and I don't remember watching any other series where after the second season I was like, all right, that was good. For a show that I like that much, to be satisfied after just 2 seasons says something to the writing.
I can't wait to check out the second season. I haven't seen it yet. But what about this new show, True Detective? You and Brian. Brian, did you finally catch up on it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. It's
what is it about? First of all, you and Scott both saw it.
Well, you've got a couple of detectives. It jumps back and forth between, say, like present time. You've got Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. They're partners, or they were partners on a huge case. As it stands right now, they're under the assumption that they are giving depositions basically for to kind of reestablish some notes and stuff on a serial killer or on some sort of there was a crime where this lady is found, and it looks like it could be some kind of ritual type deal. So they're like, hey, we lost all these files in Katrina. Can you guys help us out with whatever you remember? So it kind of, this first episode is really more of a backstory so far for Woody Harrelson and McConaughey's characters and how their impressions of each other and also the case, so that kind of stuff. So it's right now there's just a lot of questions. What's really going on here? Mm-hmm. And but like I said, it revolves around this apparent ritual type murder. Satanists. This lady's found in the middle of a sugarcane field with some objects and stuff around her. It's got Woody and Matthew McConaughey. So what else do you really need to know?
What's interesting about the story itself is he's talking about these interviews that they're doing with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. Is they're both done separately, and they're both shot completely differently. The shots with Woody Harrelson are shot very like he's sitting in somebody's office, like talking to somebody off screen that you don't see. He's not really looking at the camera. He's looking over the shoulder. You don't really know who he's talking to for sure, and it's almost like a formal meeting. Then the interview with McConaughey's character is shot through a camera, and it looks to be in like a break room.
Looks like a break room or a broom closet or something.
Right.
It's
and so there's some reason that they're not being interviewed at the same time that we don't know. So you got that level of intrigue. The actual mystery itself isn't even the most intriguing thing. It kind of seems like your run-of-the-mill murder mystery that's going to have some, like he said, some rituals. but it has some little twists at the end that make it a little more intriguing. Where this episode really shines, and I'm hoping the rest of the series does, is two things. The acting of McConaughey in particular is in a form that I've never seen him before.
Isn't he becoming like one of the best actors?
Well, I still have yet to see Mud, but from what you said about that and some other ones that he's done recently, he's really changing. But I can't to describe his character is really hard without actually seeing it. He's just very moody and morose and just
and he's also very thinned out. And I don't know if this was filmed before Dallas Buyers Club or after, but you can tell it's done right at the same time because he's very emaciated looking, just really thin and almost like Christian Bale in The Mechanic, or was it The Mechanic? Is that the one? Or Machinist?
The Machinist,
yeah. Machinist.
And that was a second.
Not quite that bad, but he is very, his cheeks and stuff are real sunken in, and he's just real. I mean, he probably weighs about 130 pounds or something like that. I mean, he's just real skinny looking. But then the flashbacks to like when he's taking on the case, then he's a little bit more filled out and stuff. Mm-hmm. So you can definitely tell they filmed these at different times, and that these interviews that they're doing with him. That's in the more recent time, more up-to-date time. I think it's like 2012 is when they take place versus the crime scene, which takes place in 1995 or 96, something like that. So you can tell, I mean, you can see the difference in him, and he's fantastic.
That was the second thing I was going to say that really impressed me was that fact that they shot that at different times. When they do the flashback and you see Matthew McConaughey when he's first taken on this case, I almost didn't recognize him the first shot of him. He looks. Some movies they do makeup to make them look younger or make them look older. It looks like you were looking back 20 years ago of him or something. It's crazy that first shot you see of him.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I had to do a double take to see if I really was looking at him or if it was another actor that was supposed to look like him but was younger for a second. It took me a couple seconds to kind of.
And how was Harrelson? Was he just as good?
He's good. He's not. I mean, I'm used to Harrelson as the grin with it and lots of comedy, and he has some comedy bits here and there. Not comedy bits isn't the right word. Just some.
Well, he's got the best line in the episode so far.
Oh yeah, definitely. But he's really solid too. He's kind of like the yin to his yang because again, Matthew McConaughey is very intelligent and kind of keeps to himself until he won't shut up kind of thing.
And the interviews you're talking about, that's the present day, so
Correct.
to speak, and everything else is flashback. They're just retelling the story to get him to that point.
Mm-hmm. But there's a good mix of both. It's not like you're jumping back and forth quite a bit. And the difference between how they look present to now is really impressive.
And you get this, and to kind of add an extra layer to this onion, so to speak, they're being interviewed for some other reason. Mm-hmm. And you're not really sure, at least yet, why they're, and you kind of start to feel like maybe this is just a little bit more than just trying to line up some facts and refill some folders and stuff that we lost a few years ago. Mm-hmm. So,
well, it's an 8-episode series from what I understand, and I assume the story concludes at the 8th episode. So we'll find out. Let's go to DVD and Blu-ray, Scott.
We've got, looks like 5 releases coming out on January 21st. The first is Machete Kills, which Aaron reviewed on episode 114. He gave it a 4.50, which totally shocked me because he loved the original one. But
I sure did. This one sucked. I was being generous with 4.5, too.
Captain Phillips, which he did a written review around the time of episode 113. You can read on the website. He gave it a $7 out of 10. Mm-hmm. There's a movie called Instructions Not Included, which is a totally new one for me.
I originally told him Batteries Not Included. Wrong movie.
I was like, is that the 80s movie?
Yeah.
With the little alien boy?
I literally texted him. I said, was this like released on Blu-ray or something? And I didn't know about it.
Yeah. Oops.
So Instructions Not Included is about a man who has made a new life for himself and the daughter left on his doorstep 6 years ago. And he finds out that his family is threatened when their birth mother surfaces.
It's a Spanish film, too. It's a huge Spanish hit.
That's the one that, it was real big in the theaters. Even
my wife loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also Blue Jasmine, which Cate Blanchett actually won the Golden Globe for Best Actress. And then lastly, Best Man Down. This is a Justin Long movie about a newlywed couple whose best man of their wedding dies like right after their ceremony, and they're traveling to go to his funeral, like right after they got married. So
It's supposed to be a very good movie, though. Surprisingly, I don't know anything about it, but Blue
Got some
Jasmine.
long.
I would like to see Blue Jasmine, but it's Woody Allen, and I don't like Woody Allen. So
Ooh, yeah. Hit me with that unknown shit. Flashback.
next up, we've got our flashback segment. This is where every other week or so, one of us hoes brings to the table a little-known or obscure movie that we hope the rest of our listeners, as well as our fellow hoes, would give a chance. This week it is my turn, and I was really excited to share this one with you. I talked about it a little bit on Facebook, those of you that are friends with me on there.
all five of you.
All five of me. All five of you.
All five of me. I created accounts so I could be friends with them.
It's got one and it's got two. No, I was sitting at home the other night, and I actually was grading some papers, and I wanted to have something on in the background. So I just went to try to find something that I didn't really feel like I had to pay attention to. Came across this movie and wound up getting so sucked into this that I wound up staying up way later than I had to grading papers because I was just really enjoying this. And it's kind of unorthodox in that it's a stand-up comedy bit. The comedian's name is Mike Birbiglia, and his special is called My Girlfriend's Boyfriend, which is kind of funny in itself. I don't normally like recommending stand-up comedy because stand-up comedy is one of those things that you've seen one, you've seen them all. I mean, there obviously people have
You either
their
relate
own,
or you don't.
right. And there's something about this guy's style of stand-up comedy that I really appreciated because it was a good mixture of stand-up comedy and monologue at the same time. He was telling jokes, but he was also delivering a message. For lack of a better way to say this without turning you off to it, it was almost like a sermon, but without being preachy. Does that make sense? It has a good message behind it. And, I mean, there's moments where he tells jokes and there's nobody laughing. And I don't mean that in a bad way, like it wasn't funny, but people are actually, you can hear the audience almost thinking about what he's saying.
Oh, really?
And I was so blown away by it. I've heard of him on some comedy shows, some radio stations, and that kind of thing. And he's pretty funny. But he's a very dry sense of humor. I actually, for one of my flashbacks, did one of his movies. It was Sleepwalk with Me, and this really blew it away for me. It has such a good message about not always having to be right that I just really took to heart. And
Justin,
I'm not directing this towards Justin. I'm just saying it's something that I hope people really give a chance and watch.
Brian,
to really for whenever he's very funny too in his dry kind of quirky way. But I've never seen stand-up comedy that kind of makes you think about yourself personally. So I really hope that some of you guys will check it out. I really liked it.
all right, and that's,
It is available.
I am always right.
It is available on Netflix streaming, and that's how I watched it. So
I'll have to
can't
check
recommend
out.
it enough.
I'll check that out. Now let's go to From the Outside In, and where we talk about a topic that's on ours or our listeners' minds. And this week, it's a listener's mind. David McGrath, he sent us an email on a topic he wanted us to broach with you guys. So thanks, David. We really appreciate it. His letter and topic has to do with the studios always interfering where they shouldn't, and they, changing movies around, whether it be from just a simple, we want to make it a PG-13 rated movie instead of an R, or we want to change the complete artistic integrity of your film, whatever it is. And let me read his portions of his emails so you kind of understand where he's coming from. Been enjoying your show immensely. Let me just say that again. Been enjoying your show immensely. Keep up the good work. And he meant to put comma Aaron, but, I guess he left it so everybody appreciated it. We appreciate that. Be nice to everybody. I've been reading a lot lately about Harvey Scissorhands Weinstein's refusal to release, oh God, Aaron, Bong Joon-ho's Snowpiercer stateside unless 25 minutes is cut from the film to make it more action-y. And a voiceover is also added to help explain the story. Living in South Korea, I had the opportunity to see Snowpiercer last summer in the theater. I really enjoyed the film. It's visually stunning, the story compelling, and the stellar cast really brought their A game. I felt Chris Evans in particular did a great job, and an almost unrecognizable Tilda Swinton really sets the bar for movie bitches you love to hate. It has been said that Harvey is forcing these changes because he thinks many viewers would have trouble understanding the movie in its original form. I call bullshit. I don't think anyone would have trouble following the story, and I think it's massively insulting to think American audiences need plot points dictated to them via voiceover to help them through it, a la Blade Runner. Are the hoes looking forward to Snowpiercer, and how do you feel about these proposed changes? Brian, why don't you take that portion? Or start us off.
All right. I'm kind of an against the grain type of person. I agree with the general sentiment of it. I don't like necessarily being spoon fed everything. There is the occasional time where I like to think for myself and absorb the movie however I interpret it. And then that's part of the fun of talking about it with you guys or other friends or what have you later is, you might focus on something that I didn't and shed a little light on something that I didn't pick up on and hopefully vice versa. But I'm going to take the stance on this case as backing up the Weinsteins, whatever.
Why? Really? Why? Why is that?
Just, all right, take it. Just about your average moviegoer. This is an increasing problem nowadays. We've discussed this 2 or 3 times in the past over the last couple of years. Anyway, they can't pay attention long enough to the movie to where they can't avoid their phones. They're always texting or talking or whatever the case is, playing on Facebook. Your average moviegoer can't handle it. They can't handle a movie that you've got to sit there and, God forbid, pay attention to. So from the Weinstein's aspect, they are actually looking at this. They're in this business to make money. Yeah, they're sure they want to entertain and all that stuff. And I'm sure to a certain extent they care about the artistic integrity for, the director or the writer, et cetera, et cetera. But he's in this to hand a movie over to theaters so that the theaters and everybody else in the world hands him money. Mm-hmm. So I can satisfy, let's say, 15 to 25% of America with this original version, or I can release a version that appeals to a broader spectrum and get a larger amount of money. Then once it goes to DVD, Blu-ray, I can satisfy everybody else, everybody at the same time, because now I can release the theatrical version and the more expensive director's cut. So it's about the money, and I know that sucks, and I know that's unpopular, and most of us would rather see. And I think anybody listening to this this podcast would consider themselves a movie buff, so we would appreciate more the director's version. Mm-hmm. But when it gets down to it, we're not the only ones that they're trying to please. They're trying to please everybody. And if the collective Americans, our attention span is pretty fucking short. So, yeah, if we've got to condense it a little bit, and from what I understand, it's like 20 minutes of backstory. Mm-hmm. So we're losing a little bit of the, where each of these characters are coming from type of information. If that's all it is, I can live with that a little bit, and look forward to the extended version, the director's cut, whatever you want to call it later.
So how does this work as far as, is it Weinstein? Is that how you say it?
Harvey Weinstein.
Does every movie that comes into the U.S. go through this guy? Or is it just the studio?
He's a studio. He owns the Weinstein studio, and they basically bought the rights to it. So he has ultimate cut.
And I'm kind of with Brian on this, siding with them, because the studios had the right to do whatever they want with a property they purchased the rights to. The filmmakers that made it could have tried to go through a smaller studio or another studio to get it released here in the U.S., right? Mm-hmm. So you give up the rights. That's how it works. I have a hard time feeling sorry for him.
Well, here's what I think. I don't like when studios feel they need to dumb things down. I get the business aspect of it. If you want to speak from if you want to speak just strictly from a business aspect, yes, they absolutely have the right to do whatever they want. They can release the movie 10 minutes long, and it can be just called Snow. They can even remove the piercer if they want. It's their movie. Do whatever they want. But this movie was a hit overseas, a huge hit actually overseas, the way it was released. So why trim it so we don't get to see the movie that was actually released? The one that's getting all the rave reviews, that's getting the hype, that actually is enticing.
Actually did better. It actually tested better. The original version tested better with American focus groups than it did the shorter version.
Exactly. I mean, it's a huge hit it's huge overseas. It's over $100 million. And I mean, it's Chris Evans in a foreign movie, and it's huge. Why wouldn't you release the movie that's already garnering that kind of attention? It's going to have that kind of hype when it comes to the States, the one that makes people want to see it. Why would you change the actual movie that they're going to see? To me, that just slaps me as a moviegoer in the face, is how I see it personally.
Well, and to rebut Brian, his point a little bit, modern films that we're seeing seem to be getting longer and longer. How many times have we been reviewing a movie and have said it would have been so much better if they had trimmed 15 minutes from it?
Valid point.
How often do we say, I really wish this movie was longer? Studios are releasing really long movies. Look at the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit films. The theatrical cuts, those are the short version compared to what comes out later. And those are already, clocking in at 3.5 hours. So I don't necessarily think that the issue is really a matter of time. I think this is more an issue with Harvey Weinstein wanting to release something that is extremely quickly paced, a lot of action, get rid of I think this is more his taste kind of being imposed on the rest of America, as opposed to it really being an artistic move.
Well, let me ask you this. This wasn't really one of the things we were talking about. A couple of years ago, he was very vocal about the Bully movie. Mm-hmm. And do you feel like this is maybe him being an obstinate asshole, basically? Because that's his rep, right or wrong. That's the perception that people have on him, that he is, he's very hard headed and it's going to be this way, and that's it. There's no discussion.
No, I think this is strictly a business move. Of all the things Harvey Weinstein is, he is a very suave and smooth businessman. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to craft movies into hits. I'm not arguing that. The only difference with this one is you have a proven success in its current form.
What is he seeing that the test audiences aren't, or something like that?
Even the test audience, like Brian said, even the test audiences are saying that's not the right move. We like the original version better. The original version was successful. To change that doesn't make sense. And I'm not, obviously I don't work for a studio. He's got more insight into it than I do. But I'm going just off the facts, off the numbers like he would. The numbers say that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I get that America is stupid. I get that we have short attention spans. We live on Twitter and we need quick action, and we don't want to think too hard. But man, I don't know.
We is dumb.
Also look at the list of flops that have happened in 2013. Look at your Lone Rangers and look at your, there's a lot of movies that just were, not only didn't make a lot of money, lost a lot of money. And just because something's popular in Korea and then popular with a small audience, it doesn't mean it's going to work everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially, you're basically forcing someone, not forcing, but you know what I mean? Hey, watch this and let us know what you think, as opposed to pay $10 to come to see this. It's going to depend on the marketing and that kind of thing. It's not I don't know. It's a movie that interests some people, and obviously went over well, but how do you market that movie to an American audience that is hung up on Twilight?
Well, let's leave the topic of just Snowpiercer and let's move into more studio interference, which we hear a lot about, that it's getting out of hand. Now, David wanted to know, studios are quick to rave about the talent they bring on board a project, but then they turn around and try to suppress that same talent's vision. Does that bother you? Do you think studios should stay out of artistic endeavors?
I don't think so. As soon as you start putting the cuffs on studios, I think we're in this mindset that, the man and bring them down and all this kind of stuff. But if it weren't for the studios, we wouldn't have as many wide releases as we do and be able to see these movies locally.
There are some directors that I think should have the right to cut whatever they want, especially somebody like, I don't know, Martin Scorsese. I think he's earned it. Peter Jackson, even though he doesn't know how to edit, I think he's earned it. Mm-hmm. Quentin Tarantino has earned it. But for the most part, studios, shouldn't get. They have a right to be involved. It's their business. It's their money. They got $200 million on the screen. If they want to trim something because of audiences or test screenings and that sort of thing, that's their right. I think it depends on what director you're talking about, what the vision is, and what his career has.
Is that something that's written into the contract when they sell the rights over?
Usually, if they get final cut, yeah.
I mean, that seems like something that they could have done on their end before they sold the rights.
Well, a lot of times studios will bring over a director that they're nurturing, and they'll tell him that this is your vision, and then when they see their vision, they say, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not going to sell.
And yet I, Frankenstein gets made. Yeah, there's always that fight in art. It doesn't matter whether it's movies, music, whatever, between the people who want to make the art and then the people who want to make money off of the art. And those two forces are always going to struggle because the artist wants to be completely unfettered, but the money people, the suits, they've got a pretty good history of knowing what sells and what doesn't. And unfettered artists probably aren't going to sell to a wide audience. So there, you're going to have that conflict, but I think that to agree with you, Aaron, there are certain directors and whatnot that need to be handled and need to be shepherded. Too many directors start getting this, I wouldn't call it ego. They get this certain legendary status that suddenly means that they're above being edited. And for me, that is incredibly dangerous because all you have to do is, read your average current Stephen King book to realize there's some editing that needs to go on there. And fuck, I love Stephen King, but I understand that he is a bit of an indulgent writer who makes more than enough money for the publisher that he can say, don't touch my shit, and a publisher is not going to touch it. But is that good for the artist? Sometimes maybe a little less handling would be good, but to just give any artist just free reign and say whatever you want to do, you just do it. You can get into some really far out territory. How much better would the prequels have been if somebody had stepped in and said, George, fuck, why don't we put some real sets in here, and why don't we get rid of the Rastafarian reptile? Okay, let's move back a little bit. I mean, no one can ever be beyond needing editing, and I think this is one of those instances where you kind of have to take it on a case by case.
And when I specifically reference the artist, there are some directors who are smart enough and forward-thinking enough to know that they need to be second-guessed. Spielberg works directly with editors. I mean, he knows the people that he trusts for whatever his vision is, and he knows what he's doing. Then there's people like George Lucas, like you said, who obviously needed to be reined in. It really depends on the artist, I think. But for the most part, it is the studio's money. If they bankroll $200 million, that whole thing of artist vision, that doesn't belong there. Now, if a movie is like if you're talking like smaller scale and independent film, I'm much more supportive of an artist's vision because the studio's not losing so much.
The stakes are really low.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're doing a $20 million movie. I tell you what, put whatever you want on the screen. If I feel like you're an up-and-coming director, go ahead. But I mean, what was it? X-Men Wolverine, the Origins movie, Wolverine. Mm-hmm. Deadpool. That was a character that was just totally wasted. Mm-hmm. And that was all because of the studio.
It's true.
I mean, they just basically, they didn't want this, he's the merc with a mouth, this wisecracking guy he's always talking shit. And they didn't want him detracting from Hugh Jackman's character, Wolverine. So they're like, all right, well, we'll sew his mouth up. Yeah, there we go. That's a good idea. Fucking assholes.
That was one of the worst ideas in filmmaking history. Yeah.
Seriously, now that I know a little bit more about Deadpool, because I didn't before I saw that movie, I'm like, really? You sewed his mouth shut?
Everybody that was a fan watched that going.
Even if you're not a fan, like you weren't a fan before, if you watch that movie and like, man, this is great, and that was like, really, what a weird villain. All right, cool. Here's what Deadpool should have been. Here's just one comic book that Deadpool appears in. You'd be like, what the fuck is this?
And you start punching the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, not shooting like some people. We just punch the screen. Jeez. So it depends. But when you're talking those mega budgeted movies, you've got to have someone that reins them in. I'm sorry, you do. As much as I'm all for artistic integrity, I think that's what the independent cinema area is for. Mm-hmm. It is for guys that want to see their vision. That's why guys like Alexander Payne and the Coen brothers and everybody else, they work under that really small scope because they know that's where they can have their vision and they can create something. If they want to do a huge movie with that vision, they better build some street cred. Mm-hmm. So what movies do you guys think have suffered from studio interference the most? And I don't mean well, I guess you can pick good or bad. What movies do you think have suffered the most? Well, suffered means bad.
Yeah, it kind of does. I was waiting for you to come around.
Thank God.
On that one.
Thank goodness I corrected myself.
There are a lot of classic examples. I mean, Superman 2 originally started off being directed by Richard Donner, but the idiots that were in charge of that movie just kept shoving their nose in, kept shoving it in until Donner was kicked out. They brought in another guy halfway through. What could have been a fantastic Superman film ended up being really cool, but goddamn, there were some weird choices made, and a lot of that was because of the interfering they did. I mean, hell, look at a movie like Blade Runner. There's 6, 7, a dozen cuts of that movie. Some, one of them the studio approved, the others are just kind of different takes on a director's cut. But kind of Blade Runner is kind of one of those movies that is a real example of here is a studio's vision, here's the director's vision, and then here's a bunch of kind of in-betweeners. Now you judge which one you like. But my favorite, I don't know if I want to say favorite because it is a negative thing. For me, the worst example of studio interference isn't with a movie, but it's with a TV show, Firefly.
Oh.
That show could have been so good and long lasting, but what did the studio do? The studio didn't like the pilot that he made, and so they had him redo a whole lot of stuff. They ended up showing the episodes out of order. You didn't get the pilot until the end of the show's run, and I think that show's death rests entirely on the studios and their completely inept handling of Joss Whedon's property. That's the most egregious one that I've got.
Oh, that's a great pick, man. Mine is going to be, it's an odd one. I've talked about it a long time ago, but Disturbing Behavior. And if you saw that movie, it was shit. It just wasn't a good movie. But if you took, what's that?
Disturbing, which one was that?
Wes Bentley was in that, right?
I don't know if Wes Bentley was in it. James Marsden was in it, and it was just one of those like almost Kevin Williams kind of flicks, Williamson flicks that came out around the time of I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's just like a teen gets kidnapped and it gets changed. It's like a Stepford Wives with kids kind of thing. It seems like a teen flick if you go watch the finished product. But the original movie, if you take all the shit that was cut out of the movie because the studio said it wouldn't play because it wasn't teeny enough, it's a good movie. If you watch all the deleted scenes, which I think if you can find the DVD, you'll see all of them. There's like 40 minutes of deleted scenes that make it makes that movie good. Mm-hmm. That movie, if you watch it, all the deleted scenes, and you kind of picture where they would be in the movie, that's a good movie. And it really,
I just pulled it up on IMDb. James Marsden, Katie Holmes, Nick Stahl, Bruce Greenwood, William Sadler, Ethan Embry.
It's a great cast.
Sorry,
right?
I missed that. I'll check it out.
Yeah, and check it out on DVD. So then you can watch. I mean, the movie's not shit. It's fine. It's serviceable. But if you watch the deleted scenes and you see what the movie could have been, it's like, why wouldn't you take a chance? That was a decent movie. It was I thought a good movie. Another one's Daredevil. It's just one of those movies where they watched the original cut and they wanted romance, so they went and added a bunch of scenes and swinging around playgrounds and all kinds of other crap. And the movie becomes like a romance between Daredevil and Elektra, and that's not what the original film was. If you watch the director's...
Hey, we figure, we got a bunch of comic book geeks going to see this. That's fine. If by chance they happen to have a girlfriend or a wife, it'll be entertaining to them too because it'll have the romance side. So we'll focus on that.
And it's unfortunate because a lot of people will never give the director's cut a chance because they saw the original and said, I won't do it. The director's cut is actually a good movie. I'm a fan of it. I think even Ben Affleck's good in it. There's not so much of the really annoying romantic edge that they thought they had in the original cut. It's just one of those movies that definitely improved.
All right. Years ago, back in the golden age of cinema, when the studios, the actual studios themselves kind of ran things, there was a control factor and kind of a discipline that's really, I'll be honest with you, it seems to be lacking these days, where they created these kind of hard, and maybe this is just the evolution of things where, 50, 60, 70, 40 years ago, they really created these kind of hard-nosed genres. Everything fit in a certain category. Now we've got a little bit more of a blending of categories: action dramas, sci-fi comedies, stuff like that. So, maybe we're at a different point, but they had a lot of great stories, and they really controlled what they wanted to do. There's movies like Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate with Chris Christopherson killed United Artists. Mm-hmm. They let the director have free reign, Michael Cimino, and for that reason, they went bankrupt because they basically put all their chips in his pile and said, "All right, yeah, this is great," and this movie bombed and they died.
Yeah, good call.
So, sorry it took a little while to get there.
That's okay. It was the very long trek around the woods to get to the highway, but we're there. Just setting up the big payoff. That's all.
Probably my grandpa used to say, going around your elbow to get to your ass.
Yep.
Or, as mine used to say, just shut the fuck up.
All right, Justin, we'll continue with Brian's point. Do you think studio interference sometimes is a good thing?
I got to completely disagree with you. I thought the theatrical cut of, and I think we've mentioned this before, Daredevil was better. I don't like the director's cut. I think it meanders. As much as you think that they added in bullshit to make the romance element in the theatrical cut, I think they added too much crap to make the legal shit with Coolio or whatever in the director's cut. I don't like it. To me, it's just a little too plodding. The crisper pace, yes. The fight in the playground, absolute nonsense. But the rest of the film, I quite enjoyed, and I like the pacing of it. So I think the studio did okay with that one.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. That romance crap. But what about Brian's point, though? Do you think sometimes it is a good thing?
Well, I think it's always good to have people looking over your shoulder, and you always hope that their suggestions or the changes that they put up are going to be helping the story, that it's not an ego thing. But like I said earlier, any artist that's just left to deal with whatever they want, it can create some really beautiful stuff, but it can also really run haywire, and wow, that sounded self-serving, didn't it? It can go off the rails, and everyone needs somebody questioning your judgment on occasion.
I think studios are in charge of the investment, so if they want to fuck up a perfectly good movie, that's their right. I don't think that studios necessarily are doing that. I really think a lot of times, most of the time, I think they're just trying to make the best movie they can for everyone. A lot of people, we're movie buffs, so we take things and we look at it a little bit more seriously than Joe moviegoer does. Because, you can just tell by the movies that are hits. A lot of the movies that make it, sometimes we look at each other and go, huh? Who? What? What they see in that thing? Just because we wouldn't like it doesn't mean the mass audiences wouldn't like it. And the studios, they know their business. For the most part, they know their business and they know what's going to sell. How many times have we been on the show and said, I can't believe people would be that stupid to pay that kind of money to see that kind of movie? And yet they do. They have no problem shelling out the cash.
I wanted to read something to you that I actually found, and this is TV, not movie, but I thought it was still apropos. John Landgraf, guy from FX, the FX television station, said that their creed for their channel is make it really good for somebody, not pretty good for everybody.
I get that, but it's a business at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And when they drop that much cash into it, I think they have the right. Like I said before, independent film I understand more, but when you're talking big money, which is what most of the movies that come to the theaters are anymore, I think they have the right. And I think you need more eyes. Like Justin said, you leave people to their own devices and you can often have chaos because you've got one person who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And he's the only one that knows the right way to steer this ship. Whereas I'm a big fan of a great idea never comes from just one person. It comes from a good idea from one person and several people contribute to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and let's keep it in mind that the suits don't give a shit about art.
Not at
I mean,
all.
they don't give a crap if you're making, the next Citizen Kane. All they care about is the money. Hopefully, in the world of art and commerce, great art will flower and it'll make the money. But that's not what the suits give a shit about. They don't care anything about your personal feelings if you're the director or not. How you feel about it, where it came from inside you. All they care about is, I'm going to give you this amount of money. Am I going to be getting that money back plus extra? That's the sum total of it. And anybody who thinks that the quote-unquote suits give a shit about the artistic integrity of what they're making is living in a fairyland.
I couldn't agree more. David, I hope that answered your questions. Let's talk about what some of our listeners thought of this topic. Jason Ulrich, he said, yes, it's not about the story or the art of filmmaking. It's about the popular casting and the money it brings in. Because the question was specifically, are you sick of studios getting too involved in their movies? Jessica Winfrey, yes, that's more or less what inspired her to start making Ramble On. It's a series that she does. So check that out, Ramble On. Marcus Shelton, no, because sometimes artists need editors, kind of what Justin was just saying. If you're in a money-making venture, sometimes you may have to listen to the people whose job it is to make money. That's a good way to point it. And David McGrath himself apparently wants to loot on his own topic. David Lynch on making Dune. I started selling out even in the script phase, knowing I didn't have final cut, and I sold out. So it was a slow dying, the death, and a terrible, terrible experience. I don't know how it happened. I trusted that it would work out, but it was very naive and the wrong move. In those days, the maximum length they figured I could have is 2 hours and 17 minutes, and that's what the film is. So they wouldn't lose a screening a day. So once again, it's money talking and not for the film at all. And so it was like compacted and it hurt. It hurt. I would say to that, that's the price you pay for dealing with a studio. And a big studio picture, they're going to, I said picture like I'm my grandpa. Wow. And a big studio movie, that comes with the territory. You know what you're signing up for. And if you don't, you should by just reading these topics and news items. I don't know. Let's go back to the fun stuff. Let's go to Ho Corner, where this is our news segment where we let one of our hoes allow them to just ignore everything I say. Because each week I kind of steer the course like a dictator. So one of these guys gets a sounding board to talk about anything that's irking them or maybe making them giddy in the movie, TV world. And we just try to talk some sense into them and discuss it a little bit. Brian, it's your turn. What is on your mind, son?
All right. It's actually funny because you actually brought this to my... Well, I don't see you brought it to my attention because I actually saw it really close to about the same time that you mentioned it to me. But earlier today, there was news broke about a man, an older gentleman in Florida, who was a little bit, let's just say he was irritated in the movies during the preview or during the trailers that were being shown. He was a little bit upset that the gentleman in front of him was sending a text. I've been pretty vocal about my disdain for people playing with their phones, especially in front of me anyway, because that bright light is very distracting. However, I'm okay with it during the trailers. Once a movie starts, I'm like, game over. You put it away. That being said, this gentleman. Basically, he asked the guy, hey, please stop, would you put your phone away? The guy smarted off. They started arguing. He left. The gentleman that was offended, he left to get the manager's help, say, hey, can you do something about this? Told him no. He goes back. They have words again. The guy that was texting actually threw something at him. And a couple of seconds later, the guy shot him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's not cool. I will accept that.
Okay.
Oh, he didn't just shoot him. He shot him and the woman with him.
Yeah, he shot
Well,
the
she jumped. She put her hand in the way to stop a bullet. I don't know how many women think they're Supergirl, but I don't know if I can probably count the number of women on the planet with my fist
They can stop a bullet.
that can stop a bullet with their bare hands. I'm just saying.
Well, before you get Justin going on gun violence, what's your point?
All right. What I want to know is what is an appropriate response whenever somebody offends you in your movie screening experience?
Oh, like what is too far minus this extreme circumstance?
Well, yeah, I mean, what can you do? All right, I mean, when do you just rat out at the offender? When do you throw food at him or her?
You
do
spit
you
on him?
shoot him?
Sit behind him and hum very loudly.
Do you go shit in their popcorn bucket? What do you?
I don't know if I could perch my ass that still over their heads.
Well, I will tell you, I actually had this happen just not like a couple months ago when we went and saw The Butler. There was a couple right directly next to us, and the guy was on his phone, on his Facebook. I could even see what the app was. He was on his Facebook the entire movie. The entire movie. So I went down, got the manager, trying to be the nice guy. After I had asked him a couple times, can you put your phone down? I tried to be nice. Can you put your phone down? Can you put your phone down? Didn't. Of course, he put his phone down for like 10 seconds, and he picks it up because whatever that status was, that couldn't wait. He was probably putting a status. This guy in the theater is really annoying me. So
Still in the theater.
Still in the theater. This movie's so boring. It's actually not factual. So I went and got the manager. They said, we'll definitely take care of that, sir. And so I go back in the theater. I enjoy some more popcorn. And somebody comes in. They do a little theater check. The guy, of course, puts his phone down because, hey, I'm not stupid. I'm not getting busted. The lady leaves, brings his phone back out. Go to the manager again. Say, hey, what he's doing is he's waiting for you to leave, and then he takes his phone back out. And this is getting really annoying. Seriously, the glow was blinding, and he had more than just one person complain. So the same thing. Came in, left, like 5 minutes later. I don't know at what point you just can't take it. I don't know what point do you just get up and leave and ask for your money back. I eventually got up and actually had to move to different seats because I was so frustrated. I could not focus when I'm seeing this giant neon glow every 10 seconds of this idiot's phone.
And see that's where, and this is my personal DNA issues, whatever you want to classify it as. There's no way I could move to a different part of the theater and not be staring at that guy the rest of the movie, and just have my total, Butler experience ruined by that person. There's no way I could let it go. Now, I'm not to the point of going, I'm about to bust a cap in his mug's ass.
I hope not.
But I'm not saying that he wouldn't have, I don't know, some melty M&Ms sitting in his lap either.
Some nougat.
I might go like rip off the top of it, go pee in it, and then just go dump it in his popcorn or something. I don't know. Whatever.
I have a buddy who actually went to a movie and when that happened, and he had one of those flashlight apps, and he turned it on and shined it right in his eye until he put his phone down. So
what do you do? Just kind of hold it over his shoulder and just...
No, he said he just took the phone out, turned the flash. I guess there's only a few people in the theater, but turned the flashlight app and pointed it right at his head and just held it there until he put his phone down. So
here's the thing. All right. When we go into a theater, most of us, probably us older folk, hope that the people around us are going to adhere to at least a modicum of decency and have some manners. But we don't have the right, just because we paid money to go into a theater, we don't have the right to assault people, whether it's physically shooting them or dumping popcorn over their head. Yes, legally that's an assault. We don't have the right to start yelling at them in the theater, because it's not just you in that theater. There are maybe 100 other people in that theater that guy's phone isn't fucking pissing off. But when you raise your voice and you turn into a fight, well, suddenly what had been just your irritation now becomes everyone's irritation. And that's not fair. Now you're just as bad as the person that you're arguing with or, shitting turds over their head, what have you. As far as I'm concerned, if someone is sitting in front of me or next to me and they're doing something that's obnoxious, I'll turn to them and I'll ask them to please stop. If they don't, then I get up and I go and try and get a manager. If the manager gets them out, great. If the manager, for whatever reason, doesn't do anything, that's as far as I can go. Then at that point, I have to leave the theater and unfortunately miss the movie. Hopefully I can get my money back. I mean, my wife and I went to go see Bad Boys 2 a long time ago when it came out, and a couple behind us decided that they thought it'd be a great idea to bring a baby with them. And that baby did nothing but scream and cry the whole movie long. And their cure for that was to just hand the baby to the parent next to them, which did nothing. So we ended up having to leave that theater, got our money back, and went to see it later, which is a big pain in the ass. But a movie theater isn't a place where it's not Tombstone, and I don't have any rights to assault someone.
Okay, all right, maybe to us. Thank you, Gloria Steinem. You're right. You don't have the right to assault someone, but you do go under it. You do buy your $10 ticket and then spend your $15 in snacks per person, under the assumption that for the next 2 hours or more, I'm going to be entertained without distraction. That's why you're sitting in a big dark room with some other strangers, because you are all going in there with the same assumption. Mm-hmm. So when somebody else does something to distract from that, it's very irritating and very, you're fucking up my shit right now.
It is irritating, but I don't go in under that assumption anymore because I've had that assumption shattered on numerous occasions. To me, it's a win if they actually don't do anything to distract me. I go in kind of figuring that some teeny bopper or whatever that has the attention span of a fruit fly is going to probably get on their phone. That's the reason they put up those little signs at the beginning of a movie. Please turn your cell phone off or put it on silent. Please don't have it up in front of you while the movie is going on, because they know
working so well.
Well, no, but people understand that shit's going to occur. Now, if every theater had the policy that like the Alamo Draft House has, where there is zero tolerance for people being on their phones, talking and being obnoxious, and that was blatantly stated to everybody, that would be great. But a lot of theaters, they don't want to do that because they don't want to turn off, potential audiences. I mean, hell, we were just talking the other week about theaters that are now going to be servicing directly to people who have their fucking gadgets and shit. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it is a fact of life that these things exist, and they are going to intrude on our movies. They're going to ring and have their fucking strange tones when I'm trying to have a dinner. It's just a fact of life. And either we figure out a way to deal with it in a way that doesn't involve gunplay, or
Scotty, please
strap on a leather and start shooting each other.
I see both sides a little bit. I'm more inclined with what Justin's saying on the fact that there's nothing we can do. You can't go, like you said, assault anybody. And for me, someone that doesn't like confrontation, I'm not going to go say anything to somebody myself. I'm not even going to go talk to a manager. To me, those kind of things are more uncomfortable for me than me putting up with somebody on their phone, which I don't have as much of a problem. I don't see it as much as you guys do. Either that, or I'm just
because you're on your phone.
No, I'm really not. I turn my phone off every movie now. Have ever since doing the show.
Because I yelled at you.
One time. I had it like in my coat, and I was like...
For 6 months, he yelled at you.
Exactly.
But it was one time.
And here's what I would like to see in the theaters for that. We get those cutesy little videos at the beginning that everybody laughs at. We've seen them 400 times that are with animated characters from whatever current kids movie is out that nobody pays attention to. How about just either one of two things? The theaters by us used to go out in front of the crowd before every showing, or at least for the big ones, and say, "Hey, just let you know the exits are here. Make sure you get a refill on popcorn. By the way, we're in a theater. Please be respectful to the people around you, and turn off your cell phones. Don't look at them during the movie." There's something about physically seeing a person that I think would resonate with a lot more people.
I agree with that.
And how hard is it for a kid to come out there and spend 45 seconds to do that? I don't know why that stopped. That, or even if you don't want to do that and you want to do like a little video or something, do a video of a real person saying, pleading with the audience. Listen,
like the sex ed vids from
not that bad.
high school.
Not that bad. Yeah.
Hey, Marcia, you're gonna have to put that phone down.
That's just as bad as the cutesy videos. Just a guy I don't care if it's like an executive or something sitting at a desk saying, "Listen, folks, people are here. People spent good money to watch this movie. Please be respectful to those around you and do them a solid. Just actually ask people or show what the expectation is. I'm an elementary teacher. Part of my daily job is to talk to fifth graders and say, this is what your expectations are in the classroom, and they have to be reminded every single day. This is what good behavior looks like. This is what bad behavior looks like. Please follow the guidelines for the way you're supposed to act as a person. Why can't we do that as adults for something that people are obviously not adhering to the rules?"
And on that note, let's wrap it up. Good point. All of you, except Brian. All right, Amaxa Perez. She's our latest Facebook like. Thanks, Amaxa. That's a cool name. And remember, if you like us on Facebook, we will mention you on next week's show. Or we're actually doing a little. We'll explain on next week's show what we're doing. But so I want to be sure to mention Junebug. She gave us a little tweet that I really was a big fan of. It was, "I would listen to a 4-hour episode, so stop worrying, Aaron." I appreciate that. Unfortunately, not everybody would. So we are going to end the show. Make sure you stay through the credits for a few outtakes. Go to thehollywoodoutsiders.com or tweet us on H_outsider, facebook.com/thehollywoodoutsiders. You can leave us a message or text us at 818-814-6426. You've had a lot of good topics this week, so if you guys want to email what your thoughts are, feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. It's feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. And let us know what you think on StudiHO Interference, texting in the movies, when's a good time to shoot it up, whatever. Listen and subscribe for free on iTunes. Listen on your Stitcher Radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do, or on our RSS feed. That's going to do it for this episode of The Hollywood Outsider. Thanks to Justin, Brian, and Scotty. Thanks, guys.
And by shoot it up, we're talking about guns, not heroin, right?
Yeah, if you got to specify, yeah.
All right, just making sure.
And remember, guys, the next time you go to a theater, go ahead, Justin.
Crunch on some Jew Bears.
And buy some popcorn. You couldn't give me a crunch at that point? We'll go with
Did that too.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
So you got the update and you switched channels?
Yep.
Well, fucking balls. Can't ask for any more than that, Brian.
That's a little tricky, but I'll see if I can try it.
By the way, whoever says amazeballs should be punched in the face. I've determined that. That's my 2014 resolution. Punch people that say amazeballs.
Or adorbs.
Or totes.
Totes.
Totes my goats. It's all a deceptive facade.
Good job.
A big old facade.
Facade.
Because
Totes my goat seems longer.
it's to provide. It's totes is short for totally, and magoats is to provide emphasis to the totally.
So just say totally.
Like Rafflecopter.
Rafflecopter.
Because